Hey, Liron here. Today we're going to have a little chat. I want to talk to you about the value of experimental paintings. And this is definitely what I would call an experimental painting, where I had a lot of uncertainty about the process and how I want to structure it. So you're going to see stages of the painting on the screen as I talk, but I want to really quickly take you through the process. Now, I had a really good vision. This is a picture I took. It's somewhere in our neighborhood, and it's something I see a lot. It's a view I see a lot, and I always stare at it, and I feel very inspired to want to paint it. And so I decided, honestly, I just go for it. It's been cooking in my brain for a while, and you'll notice with some of your best paintings, they do cook for a while in your brain until it just comes to you one day. You're like, I want to paint this. But this is what happened here. I began with a sketch. I traced like some of the key details here. I actually don't have a picture of the sketch, but I did trace some of the very few details I could. With this kind of a painting, you have to almost keep things a little loose because there's so much details. If you are tempted to sketch each and every one of them, you might fall into the trap of confusion, honestly. Now, if I'll start sketching, all of these cars here and and this big kind of tree in the middle and the buildings and all the details on the buildings, like all these, water tanks and solar panels, whatever it is, it's just going to be a mess. So what I decided to do is a very lightweight sketch, after which I did an initial wash covering the whole thing. Now, the initial wash, I had a very clear vision for the colors, which is what was responsible for its success. The way I imagined it is, just imagine sunset colors, which is deep blues, purples, and then all the yellow red side of the scale, right? And I would say one thing that I got a little wrong and I could improve next time is just to bring up the redness and yellowness. Like, I should have just had it start earlier, because then you'd see more of it behind the buildings, and it kind of starts here, and it should start just a little higher, just to give more of that punchy, impactful feeling. Now, these types of paintings, they live and die by the second wash. And what do I mean by that? You really, really need to discern the big shapes of everything, because what you have here, the signature of this painting, is a lot of darks and then the highlights peeking through, right? The sky is a big highlight, but honestly, just these parts peeking through where you can see the cars and the street, and the windows and all of that, that is the main attraction of these kinds of paintings. So the main big shapes have to be solid. If you overwork this stage, which is very easy to do, and I came close to, that's where it gets a little tricky. Now, I'm a huge fan of doing these paintings that even, I would say, kind of almost deter you. Like, you're inspired by the scene, but you're a little scared. You're not sure how to approach it. I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself, honestly, because once you get started with the painting, you will find a path. Whether that's the right path, the accurate path or not, it doesn't matter. But what you essentially did was you practiced the action of not knowing and doing it anyway. And not knowing and doing it anyway. And it's a muscle. And you start developing crazy good intuition for painting when you do that, right? So threw myself in the water. First wash, I can pretty much handle any subject, especially when it's this kind of a loose painting. But I did manage to get the lower part. I'm showing you obviously the scans, but this lower part especially, just a few loose, vague details on the cars can go a long way. Both in clarity, like okay, this is where things are, but also some of these details are visible for later washes. So if you can get some things done wet in wet, as fast as possible and kind of directly, that's great. If you can't, you can't. But the whole point is to throw yourself in the water and kind of hope that it works out, right? So that was the first wash. The first wash was a challenge. It was a big challenge, making sure to prioritize flow but still go for it, right? That's the big challenge. And these paintings, they tend to be like a first and second, and then everything else is optimization. Adding all the highlights that are necessary, adding all the darks that are necessary. One thing I found myself needing to do multiple times is thin glazes of pure paint around the orange bits, because they were light enough, but they weren't colorful enough. So the solution to that is to make them more colorful without darkening, right? That's the thing that can easily happen is, and I haven't filmed the moment of this, by the way, I just took pictures and scans. this is, by the way, will solve a lot of your problems. A lot of people, their paintings don't shine enough. Sometimes a thin glaze is what separates you in success. I've shown this in multiple painting processes here on the channel, by the way. Just a thin, highly saturated glaze. It's mostly water and like 10, 15, 20% paint can make a huge difference. And all of these other details, highlights, small line, linear details, but also big shape details, sculpting these cars, bringing back some of the lost highlights, some of the blue highlights. There was extensive use here of opaque paints. Mostly, I would say the opaque white and then mixed with watercolors, but I also have this beautiful cobalt blue that is opaque that I like to use for some of the more lilac-y, lavendery types of highlights. You do very well to have an opaque paint that is warm and an opaque paint that is cool. It's just very useful to have something to build your opaque shapes from. And, I'm not saying rely totally on opaque paint. I just love to add these touches. I find it, for example, when I painted these buildings, right, the first time I put this wash down, could I paint around all the little highlights of the windows and all of that? I could, but how much would I have to compromise the quality of my wash for that? So I just rather paint it as one big shape and worry about the highlights later. If you can get some highlights wet in wet, wonderful, and it can sometimes look really good. But if you don't, then that is fine too, right? But the long stretch of this latter third or 40% of the painting process has just been that optimization, just adding key details here and there, a little bit of a highlight to a car, a little bit of a shadow to a car, going over the road again with a stronger orange, adding these little balcony railing like protection thing, all of these things, and that's where the painting is built. You just keep adding and adding and adding. And I cannot describe with words just how many of your paintings might get messed up simply because you quit. You stopped too soon. And I always say this, it's a funny joke. Like if you were to ship me your painting by mail, I could probably turn it from wherever it is to a much better end result. So if you consider it a 5 out of 10, I could probably turn it in like an 8 out of 10 by your subjective scale. So just know whatever it is you're holding there, whatever paintings you don't like maybe in your pile, you could still make them look really good. Okay, so that's kind of a good message to wrap this up with. Just don't give up on them. And I know sometimes you can get a little fatigued by working on a painting. I totally get that. Just take a break, revisit it. I have a pile of unfinished paintings here all around the studio, by the way. And whenever I feel like it, I pick one up and I continue. Some of them are just simply long processes, so it's been taking a while. And others, I just kind of ride the inspiration whenever it comes. And if it doesn't come, I just don't. I just don't force myself, especially if it's a process you've gone through, you spent an hour or two on. You might need just a fresh eye, but also just to rest from it, right? But I think if there is any through line to everything I'm telling you in this video is really just follow whatever your gut says as selfishly as possible. Paint what you want, paint how you want. Forget about technique, forget about work processes and a method and following tutorials. Just take something you care about, a view that is personal to you, a person that you want to paint, and just paint them your way. Your way is the best way to paint because you will improve in your way. Whatever you do, you improve it. Do you want to improve at being a copy, or do you want to simply improve at painting like you want to? It's just more fun, more joyful. You'd enjoy it much more, in my personal, humble opinion. By the way, I don't mention it enough. If you want to receive access to live painting demos and chats, just like what we just had right now, be sure to check out the Watercolor Breakthrough Club. I'm going to put a link below. You get access, again, weekly live streams where I either demo a concept or explain something or give you feedback on your paintings. So if you want my feedback on your paintings, check it out. It's going to be the first link in the description box below. And you get access to the community. So you join on Discord, you can share your work with other people, get their feedback, and more importantly, perhaps help others with their art, right? I would love to see you there. I think it's meant for those who have been doing this for a while now. So if you're really just a beginner, you might not get the most value out of it. I think if you've been doing watercolor for a while, maybe you're a little stuck. Maybe you see a path forward, but it's just hard getting there, and you need a bit of accountability, a bit of a community, a bit of like a weekly anchor to get you to continue pushing forward. That's the weekly live streams and demos. Then be sure to check that out. First link in the description box below. You might discover it's just what you need. I do want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it gave you some useful perspective or some ideas to marinate on. And I do want to thank everyone who supports me over on Patreon. If you want to receive credits at the end of the videos, including access to some exclusive processes there, be sure to check that out. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.